In the Linux operating system, you can run commands that are especially heinous, or you can do something vaguely useful. These are their stories. I thought I would change things up by doing something vaguely useful, and so I'm going to show you how I VPN by just setting up a simple proxy server that will let me just toggle my browser settings to get me to a private source. I'm just going to start by downloading private internet access here. Get to the download link. And of course, they're not any kind of sponsor or anything. They just happen to be who I used because I got a link not too long ago and it was free and I liked it, so I kept it. And I'm doing this from Debian 10 Buster. It's a VM. You could easily do this on a Raspberry Pi or, a spare computer, whatever you want. Go ahead and get this installed. I did have to install sudo to get this to work. That's apparently a requirement. They should probably fix that. And we see here it's installed, so get it launched up. There it is, very good. And now that we see that it's working, we can go ahead on to the next step, which is, of course, install TinyProxy. You could, of course, use probably any proxy server out there, but I like TinyProxy. It's nice and easy to configure, and it meets my needs. And of course, there's no third party here, just apt-get install TinyProxy, and give it a sec, and it's done. And through the magic of editing, I've signed in here already, so I'll go ahead and get connected to Seattle because they are nice and close to me. And once we're connected here, I'll do an ifconfig and I'll see that I've got my standard ETH0 adapter with my NAT IP address, but I'll also have this TUN0 or Tunnel0 IP address, which is my IP address from private internet access. And of course, if you're using another VPN service, then that device name might be something else, but there should always be something new there. And as a quick sanity check here, we'll go to private internet access again, and we'll see that my ISP and my IP is PIA, so that all looks good. Let's disconnect again and refresh the web page again. And I see that my standard IP is there. All right, let's go ahead and see ifconfig, and we see that the TUN0 device is gone, so everything kind of checks out the way I think it should. Cool. Now we can modify the TinyProxy configuration file, and we're going to start with the listen IP. We're going to set that to the 1.218 NAT IP I have for my local area network. My bind IP, which is where all the traffic is going to get directed to, that's going to be my IP from private internet access, so get reconnected here. Quit, check what my IP address is, 10.11.10.6, okay. Get back down here and change it, 10.11.10.6. And scroll down here and go ahead and, whoa, Firefox, please. Okay, go ahead and modify what allowed IP addresses are allowed to come in here. I'll just set this to everything that my LAN uses. So restart TinyProxy and go ahead and check the status of TinyProxy, and it looks like it did not script the configuration file, so that's good. Go ahead and go to private internet access, verify, nope, no VPN, and I'm doing this, I'm not on the VM anymore, I'm doing this on my local machine. Scroll down, set my configuration for my proxy, manual proxy, and it was 192.168.1.218 on port 8888. And get down here and set the SSL proxy to the exact same thing. 8888, and okay. Now, if I refresh private internet access, boom, it's going through the proxy and I'm automatically VPN'd in. If I ever have to restart the VM, or if I have to disconnect and reconnect to PIA, then my IPs are going to change potentially. So let's go ahead and write a shell script to automate the configuration of TinyProxy so that we can avoid having any connectivity issues in the future. Because ifconfig puts every device into its own kind of visual block here, we need to get everything onto a single line, each logical section onto a single line, so that we can more easily parse it. So let's replace every new line with a tilde, and then every double tilde we'll replace with a new line, and that way we've got each device on a single line, and it can grep for our ton0, which will give us just our PIA IP. And then we can grep with a regular expression here for the IP address here. I'm looking for numbers 0 through 9. There's going to be 1 to 3 of those numbers. It might end in a period, and there's going to be 4 of those. So that gives us our IP. And I cheated, and I know that command is my 58th command that I wrote, so I'm going to go ahead and use some IO redirection here to get that command into a shell script, because lazy. And now I want to strip out the inet part, so I'm going to grep for the exact same thing again, but omit the inet at the beginning. So again, any single digit, 0 through 9, it'll repeat 1 to 3 times. I will match the first octet of my IP, and then it might have a period after it, and the whole thing will repeat exactly 4 times. Go ahead and quit. Do a sanity check here, run it. That gives me my IP address for ton0. That's excellent. Let's disconnect and rerun it again without a connection, and that gives me nothing. That's good. We can work with that. Now let's save this value to a variable. And because we've got a lot of things going on in this command, let's do another sanity check and make sure that we are saving our value or IP into the variable correctly. So reconnect, another test. Excellent. That looks good. And the first thing we need to do is test if we've got an IP address at all, because we don't want to change the configuration file if we don't have an IP. So go ahead and get an else statement in here to start with and echo out an error message saying that we've disconnected here. Put a quick to-do in here for myself later, since I'm going to be using this script on the daily. Before we can start manipulating the configuration file, we need some place to start with. So let's build ourselves a template configuration file. We'll go ahead and copy the one that we've already made to our current working directory. And let's filter out anything that starts as a comment. And that gives us a lot of blank lines, so let's filter out all the blank lines. That's a good starting point. Go ahead and put that into a new file called T, rename T to TinyProxy, and then we'll go ahead and change our bind IP address to something that we can easily search for and replace, so bind IP glyph. Because we're going to be looking for files in our local directory, we need to cd to the directory that the script is in. So let's go ahead and do a dir name on the current file, the script name. That way we're guaranteed to be in the directory that contains our script, and then we can see if the TinyProxy template file exists. If it doesn't exist, then we'll echo out that the template file is missing and we can't complete the automatic configuration. Another to-do here, since I still need to set up my mail server. And then paste in our bind IP glyph, and then we'll cat the TinyProxy template. And we will do a sed replace on our glyph with the IP address, the ton IP, and redirect that to a temporary file. And we don't want to try to manipulate a configuration file if the configuration file isn't there, so we're going to test if the TinyProxy configuration is there. And if it isn't, we're going to spit out another error message here. Oops, get everything indented properly. There we go. Let's see, did not find configuration file for TinyProxy. Alright. So now we need to understand if the configuration file is changed to know if we need to take any action. So I'm going to take the MD5 sum of the existing configuration file and grab just the MD5 sum, not the file name with awk there, and then we're going to grab the MD5 sum of the new configuration file and /temp. And if those two files have the same MD5 sum, or more accurately, if they don't have the same MD5 sum, then we know that our VPN IP has changed and we need to update the config. Go ahead and get the else statement and the fee in there. Now that we've established that there's been a change, we can go ahead and copy our new configuration file. You know what? I'm typing these same paths a lot. Let's go ahead and create some constant variables here, kind of a configuration section, and I can go back and replace these. So temp file is temp tinyproxy.conf, configuration file, etc tinyproxy, tinyproxy.conf. Let's see, what else do we need here? We need the template file location, and we'll just go ahead and use the file name there. And go ahead and get all these replaced in here. Alright, now we can replace our configuration file with our temporary file, or new configuration file. And then go ahead and restart TinyProxy since there's been an update. Oh, gotta fix my spelling of conf, and I missed this guy up here. Temp file. Alright, go ahead and save it. Give it a test. Let's take a look at my config. And it looks good. Let's go ahead and check the status of the service, and I see it was restarted 28 seconds ago. That's about right. Rerun it again. There was no restart because there was no change to my IP address. That's good. Let's go ahead and disconnect. And we will rerun again, and that's good. And we'll reconnect again, force the IP address to change as a result, and if I run the script, I should see that our status has, let's see, restarted 2 seconds ago, so that looks good as well. And of course the last step here is to get the script running periodically, so let's go ahead and make a mental note of where this script lives. And I'll set my editor to nano because I'm lazy, and we'll use cron-tab-e to create a new cron job, and we're going to have a job that runs every minute, of every hour, of every day of the month, of every day of the week. And root tinyproxy autoconfig set bind ip.sh. Okay, and do a quick cron-tab-l to list it out, and that all looks excellent. And you're still here, so hopefully you found this useful. If so, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a high five, whatever you like. Alright, thanks, bye.